Right now, at this exact moment, your brain is actively lying to you. And the crazy part? You probably don't even notice it. Have you ever had this sneaking suspicion that you're not the one actually driving your own life? Like some invisible force is making your decisions, ramping up your anxiety, and totally filtering your reality without your permission? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exposing a profound truth. We're going to uncover exactly how your mind gets hijacked by the outside world, and more importantly, how you can use ancient, science-backed techniques to take the wheel back. Let's look at the mind's illusions, escaping the algorithm of ego.
So, are you controlling your mind or is it controlling you? It's a tough question, right? Because what you probably think of as your own free will right now is likely just a biological algorithm. Basically, it's a chemical loop of dopamine mixed with this desperate, totally unconscious need for external validation. Think about it. Every time you compulsively check a notification, every endless doom scroll, every time you bite your tongue because you're terrified of what someone else might think, that's not you choosing. That's your brain running a pre-programmed script. You're just reacting. So how on earth did we get trapped in this loop in the first place?
Well, that brings us to part one, the mind's invisible trap.
To understand how we lose control, we literally just have to look at the world we live in. Modern society is perfectly engineered to turn us into highly anxious consumers. And I don't just mean consuming products. I mean consuming approval, consuming validation, and consuming fear. It fragments our attention and leaves our minds completely dopamine-driven. But here's the secret. True power actually lies in building a still, self-reliant creator mind. The problem? There is this massive, totally invisible wall blocking you from getting there.
And that wall is the ego's illusion. It's a false identity built entirely out of our fears and our deep-seated need for other people to validate us. We spend our whole lives absolutely exhausted, carrying around this heavy burden, constantly trying to be perfect and please everyone. We put on these masks just to hide our insecurities. But here's the most fascinating takeaway from all of this. The very second you drop that burden, when you actually stop caring about maintaining that fake identity, you unlock this unshakable inner lightness. It's incredible. But dropping it isn't just about thinking positively. We have to understand the hard science of why it's stuck there in the first place.
Which leads us to part two, rewiring the brain. See, breaking free from these illusions isn't just some philosophical idea. It requires physically changing your brain. And the key mechanism here is neuroplasticity. Your past memories, your emotional wounds, they aren't just invisible, floating thoughts. They're actual deep electrical pathways physically carved into your brain tissue. It's kind of like walking the exact same trail through a forest every single day. Eventually, it becomes this deep, muddy trench. Every time you hold on to past pain or fear someone's judgment, you are literally deepening that neurological trench. You trap yourself in a biological echo chamber of your own past. When you're stuck in that anxiety and neediness, your amygdala, which is basically the brain's fear alarm, locks you into high-stress beta waves. You become hyper-reactive to every little thing around you. But when you can shift into alpha or theta brainwaves, everything changes. You experience this profound inner stillness, and you put your prefrontal cortex, the logical, authoritative CEO of your brain, back in command. So, the million-dollar question is, how exactly do we force this shift and steal our focus back? That brings us to part three, the surgical strike, known as Trautak. To force this mental shift, we can use an ancient psychological tool called Trautak, or visual fixation. Now, this goes way beyond your standard meditation. Trautak is essentially a sensory deprivation tool. By fixating your vision on one single unwavering point, you physically force your visual cortex to filter out useless data. This literally starves that fearful amygdala of the chaotic inputs it normally uses to generate anxiety. It's honestly like a surgical strike on a scattered mind. The practice works by systematically dismantling your anxiety through 5 specific layers of visual fixation. First up is the image, which rewires your visual memory and gives you a mental anchor. Second is the red cloth. This actually trains your brain to shift from those stressed out beta waves to calm alpha waves, even when you're staring at a color that signals high alert. Third, the black dot. Think of it as a psychological black hole that just zeroes out all your mental chatter. Fourth is the mirror. Staring into your own eyes triggers this well-documented neurological glitch called the strange face illusion, which actually helps deconstruct your ego. And finally, the fifth layer, the horizon. That fifth layer, staring out at an infinite horizon, completely changes your biology. Let's look at the data here.
When we have a super narrow focus, like, staring at a phone screen in a tiny bedroom, our brain spikes cortisol, the stress hormone. It thinks we're trapped. But when you expand your vision to an infinite horizon, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Cortisol levels literally plummet. Suddenly, you give yourself the psychological bandwidth to handle massive, overwhelming challenges without even flinching. It all points to this incredible idea: the observer creates reality. It's wild because both ancient wisdom and modern quantum physics actually agree on this. Your frequency, your exact neurological state, and where you direct your absolute focus literally construct the world around you. When you change your energy, you change your reality. But to really master this, you have to be willing to face the one thing most humans are absolutely terrified of.
And that is part 4, the power of solitude. Once you've managed to master your focus, you have to face the ultimate mirror, being completely, utterly alone with yourself. Before you can attract real connections or build massive influence, the sources describe going through the universe's tests for mastery. You have to embrace complete aloneness without an ounce of fear. You have to free yourself from those old electrical brain pathways we talked about, elevate your frequency, and dissolve that heavy wall of ego. Honestly, life will just keep isolating you until you stop running from your own reflection and finally realize you are already complete. Think about it. If you can sit in total silence, no phone, no background noise, not needing anyone else in the room, something magical happens. Solitude destroys that borrowed fake identity society handed you, and it reveals your actual, unshakable self. If you can pull this off, you become dangerously calm. And that kind of calm? It is immensely powerful. It completely rewires how other people perceive you.
Which perfectly sets up part 5, true magnetism and influence. This profound internal stillness we've been talking about, that is the secret mechanism behind why some people just effortlessly draw others to them. We usually think influence is about being the loudest person in the room or, actively manipulating a situation. But it's literally the exact opposite. True influence has a few key rules. Stop chasing external approval. Listen to people without constantly jumping in trying to fix them. Actually embrace the awkward silence in conversations. And set unshakable boundaries. The paradox here is that the less you chase people, the more they are inexplicably drawn to your grounded presence.
Let's compare the two states. Neediness is entirely rooted in fear. It suffocates connection and acts like a massive psychological repellent. Humans can unconsciously sense when you desperately want something from them, and their brain instantly tells them to pull away. On the flip side, inner stillness is rooted in self-respect. It creates this amazing aura of freedom. When you carry that inner stillness with you, you stop draining people. Instead, you become a magnetic sanctuary for them. Which brings us to this beautifully profound quote: "Love is born where the desire to control ends." Whether we're talking about romantic relationships, business, or just life in general, when you finally stop trying to force an outcome, and when you stop trying to mold people to fit your specific narrative, that is when authentic connection can organically flourish. So here is the crucial takeaway from all of this. The ultimate control isn't about manipulating the world around you. Not at all. It's about mastering your own internal stability so absolutely nothing external can shake you. You don't actually need to conquer anybody else. You only need to conquer your own impulses, your own deeply ingrained fears, and those automatic neurological reactions. That right there, that is the definition of true unshakable power. Which leaves us with a final, provocative question to think about. If you stop begging for validation today, who will you become tomorrow? Just take a second to really imagine that. Imagine the absolute freedom of living entirely on your own terms, a life completely unbothered by the noise, the algorithms, and the heavy expectations of the world. For so long, your brain has been lying to you, convincing you that you need the world's approval just to survive. But now you know the truth. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will leave you to ponder that question.